Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Cafe Bagheri. Today, we're going to make Sholeh Zard together. This is a sweet Persian saffron rice pudding, quite delicious when you serve it hot or cold. And for those of us who are looking forward to the winter holidays, it makes a great addition to any spread. You're going to love this one. Let's get started making some Sholeh Zard. Okay. Like any Persian rice dish, the first step is to clean and wash your rice. This rice is fairly clean when you get it from the market. Most brands of rice are here in North America. So what we need to do is to remove some starch from the dry rice. That includes putting the rice in a medium-sized bowl and just stir it with your fingers. You don't need to be scrubbing the grains between your fingers. You just need to remove some of the dust. So the water gets cloudy, and you repeat that 3 to 4 times to make sure all of the starch and dust on the grains are removed. That's all we're doing. And the water doesn't need to be completely crystal clear. After we have washed the rice, we get a large bowl with 7 cups of water, and we transfer the washed rice to the bowl. And we are going to leave it for a minimum of 30 minutes to several hours, depending on what kind of rice you're using. So the purpose is for the rice to soak up and become soft. And I'll show you the test for determining if 30 minutes was enough. Like all cooking projects, you want to prepare and gather all your ingredients, which we call Mise En Place, make sure everything in its place. I go one step further and put the groups of ingredients in the order in which they will go into the dish. After we soaked our rice, so we're using the 30 minutes of time during the soaking to prepare some of the other stuff that's going to come together. First one is the slivered almonds are an essential ingredient that go inside of your rice pudding. But we're going to flavor them a step further. What we're doing is we have some rose water here, and we add it to our slivered almonds. And we add a couple of ounces of water. By the way, the recipe is in the comments under this video as usual. We're going to soak in the rose water both the almonds and some cardamom pods. But in order for cardamom to release its aroma and essence, we need to kind of injure and cut it a little bit, just like that. So I do all 10 of them this way. Just cut it a little bit with the knife, or you can press it with the bottom of a cup or something like that. That way the essence will leave the pot. So we're going to leave the almonds and cardamom to soak in the rose water. If you don't like almonds or you're allergic to them in some way, you can leave the almonds out completely. And of course, the word zard means yellow, Sholeh Zard, yellow porridge. And saffron solution, or saffron water as some people call it, is a major ingredient in this dish. I make it in bulk in this bigger bottle, but you need only 5 ounces for this dish. And the instructions how to make it are in the recipe. Okay, the rice has been soaking for a little over 30 minutes, and we're gonna test it to make sure it's soft enough for us to proceed to make the Sholeh Zard. You simply get a couple of these grains and use your fingernail to do this. If they easily break like this, they're soft enough to proceed. If not, just let them sit in the water for an additional 30 minutes before you proceed. What we're doing is all of the 7 cups of water and the rice that's been soaking in it is going to be put on high flame. The purpose is to get it to a boiling point, then drop it down to low. Here you go. Just push the rest of it in the water. Initially, you just give it a little bit of stir and just let it go. After a few minutes, it starts boiling. I'm gonna drop it to low immediately, and I will start taking off the foam from the top. This is nothing but extra starch, by the way, and you can leave it on the rice. You can leave the foam in there, but it just gives it a little more stickiness and impacts the final texture of your Sholleh Zard. You have to decide which way is better, but removing it seems to make the grains a little more pronounced in the final product. So now it's simmering, as you can see, on low temp. And we're gonna let it go for about 20 minutes, and we'll stir it once in a while. At least once a minute we need to be stirring this so that it will not stick to the bottom. And we'll simmer it until the water has reduced and evaporated sufficiently. That's when the level of rice and water is almost the same, but there is clearly water in there and simmering. So that takes, on my cooktop, about 20 minutes. You're gonna have to judge it by the level of water in the rice. So we're right about 20 minutes. See, the water, there's still water, but it's almost same level as the rice. So we're ready to proceed with the rest of this stuff. This is when we add, starting with the mixture of slivered almonds and the cardamom pods that are in a solution of water and rose water. So we're gonna add all of those. And with every addition of these following ingredients that I'm adding, you wanna do a little bit of stirring to make sure it's distributed completely. We are going to add our saffron solution. I make sure always to shake this solution to make it even. And then this is exactly 5 ounces. I like a strong saffron color in my Sholleh Zard. You can experiment, see, I know people put very little or even more, going towards an orange color. Look at this. This is what 5 ounces of rich saffron water makes it look like. For sugar, if you look at the recipe below, we have about 1.5 cups to 2, depending on how much sweetness you like. Start dissolving it, and then we'll add it. Another stir. Now we're going to put a couple of cinnamon sticks. I know people add cinnamon powder, ground cinnamon, but that impacts the color of your Sholleh Zard. You want cinnamon sticks because it imparts the flavor and aroma of cinnamon, and then you can remove them later. We're going to lower the temp even lower than it was before. We were simmering. We're gonna go to the lowest possible before it turns off, right? So we're at the lowest possible temperature that we can get on this cooktop, and we're going for 20 minutes on the lowest setting. We're about 12 minutes into our second 20 minutes with all the ingredients in there. And look at this. It's kind of getting there. The texture, and I did a little tasting. It's pretty much where we want it. We're halfway there. All right, here's the consistency after the second 20 minutes that was done while stirring it once every, I would say 30 seconds or so. I said constantly, but really you don't need to be stirring constantly, about once every 30 to 45 seconds to prevent the bottom from sticking. Now we're going to move our pot off the heat so we can work on it here on this counter. As you can see, there's already, between the time I turned off the heat and now, there's a little skin, a little film formed on the top of this, which is the sugar in there really, and some of the starch. The consistency is where I want it after the second 20 minutes of cooking on very low and stirring. What we're doing before adding the last set of ingredients, we're gonna remove the solids. You remember the 2 pieces of cinnamon stick have done their job, and they gave a nice layer of cinnamon aroma and flavor. And also the cardamom pods are done. I remember from my childhood, occasionally you would find in a bite of Sholleh Zard, you would find a little cardamom pod or those little hard seeds from inside of cardamom. So try to do a thorough job of finding, so slivers may have separated from cinnamon sticks that you need to find. So just kind of stir and fish for them. So this is it. We remove the solids. Before we let this rest for about 5 to 10 minutes, we're going to add the last set of ingredients, butter and 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil. Are both the butters for flavor, and butter and vegetable oil together are to enhance the final texture of this Sholleh Zard. They help to separate the grains and form a thin barrier between them and kind of help the final texture. But the butter is definitely for flavor. So thoroughly stir this for butter and oil to get distributed. And then what happens is, as this thing cools, it tends to get a little harder in texture and won't be as runny, and that's okay. That's where we want it. There you go. Make sure that butter is completely dissolved. Just leave it now for about 10 minutes. This thing will be cooler, so you can handle it and put it in dishes for serving. Okay, after we add the butter and oil and it's rested for the final stretch, we are ready to serve. There are 2 ways to serve this. Whenever in its traditional form, you're usually making this to give to the needy or people in the neighborhood, your friends and family. You divide it by portions in these to-go boxes and then decorate each separately. If you're doing this for a party as a dessert or side dish, what you do is you're going to get a big serving bowl and put the whole thing in that bowl and decorate it real nice all over, and that'll be your presentation. So this thing's still hot, so it has some settling to do after we fill these and before we decorate. Okay, so we're going to shake these to level the surface. because that's the canvas on which you want to do your design. And I am not going to start decorating the top quite yet because it's still rather hot. I want to let it cool down a little bit and solidify. So as it cools, it will again get a skin on the top, and then you will proceed to do your decoration. But this is pretty much your Sholleh Zard. If you're someone who doesn't care about decorating the top of it, or if you want to do small plastic or glass servings, so each one of these could be cut into 4 to 6 small servings, and in that case it would serve a lot more people. But we are saying this recipe is for 6 to 8. It's been about 6 minutes. As you can see, the shaking tells us that this thing, because of the starch and sugar, is kind of starting to solidify and we can start working. I'm going to push these two back and just show you how I would decorate. One quick word, the occasion on which traditionally this is made is for religious occasions, for remembrance of someone, or if you have a wish that you want granted, you make a bunch of these, give to the needy, the neighbors, and hope that your wish will be granted. A lot of times the decorations on this thing are religious in nature, and in this case I have Cafe Bagheri logo and I'll use it, but the sky's the limit and you can use your creative forces to do whatever you want for a birthday or whatnot. So I'm putting about a tablespoon or half tablespoon of the cinnamon here, and you will get a cutout of whatever design you want. I'm trying to not destroy this, and I will go like this. There, that's the first level. And then what I've done is, just bear with me, I have some crushed pistachios. I will go right here and go like this. And there it is. Here's our design. So I've seen houses that have 200-300 of these portions sent out to the needy. They hire drivers that send them throughout the neighborhood and nearby regions, or just the immediate family, 5 or 15 of these. I hope that you liked the Sholleh Zard video today. Do try to make this and put it on Instagram, Facebook. On Instagram, you can tag me at Cafe Bagheri. I would like to see it, and I will give you a shout out and share it with my folks. If you like this video, please like below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, this is a perfect opportunity to subscribe and hit that little bell button so you can keep in touch. Whenever good stuff happens here, you get a notification from us. Please come back and see me right here at Cafe Bagheri very soon. We have a lot of cool stuff coming up, and I think it's time for me to dig into one of these. So you usually want to get the almond slivers are in there, part of the actual pudding, and then you got the dusting of cinnamon and pistachios on the top. Saffron and cardamom are the strongest whiff initially, and it's wonderful.